but it just didn't work last time around. But this time we're up, which is awesome. And I'll record it anyway, and the Lit Hub will put it up tomorrow, and they'll edit it, and they'll make it look. But cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna start letting people in because I see people are here, and we can see where people are calling from and wait and let other people kind of arrive.
Great.
Becky, where are you at?
I'm in New Hampshire. Oh, hi, Mom.
People are still coming. Welcome, you guys. If you're coming in, people are still on their way in. So we'll be getting started in just a moment. You're coming in muted. So, please keep yourself muted for now. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, Katie. Hi, Colin.
Hi, Colin. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Jenny. Lena. Oh my God, it's so nice to see familiar names.
Hi, Ian.
Hey.
I will make sure everyone's muted in a minute. We'll just wait another minute or so, and then we'll get started. Park Slope. Hi, Katie Freeman. I know what the weather's like in Park Slope. Hello, Hannah Bay. Hannah, welcome back. Hannah was a reader last week. That was really awesome.
Hi, Hannah.
Hello, Greenpoint. Books coming in.
Katie, I love your shirt. Wow, come on, too good. I've got some big roses going on too, but
yeah.
Wow.
God, that is a great shirt. Very cool. All right. Well, I'll let some more people in as they come, but we are gonna get started. I'm gonna put everyone.
My coworker's mother.
Oh, thank you. That's really sweet. Hi, Jenny. That's really nice to hear, Ian. Thank you. Cool. All right. I'm gonna put everyone. Awesome. All right. So everyone at this point is on mute, but me. Welcome, you guys. Welcome to the Antibody. I'm Brian Gresco. The Antibody is a quarantine reading series, which is coming to you on LitHub's virtual book channel. Tonight marks a month of these readings, which have been a real bright spot for me in this kind of challenging time. Not kind of challenging time. It's been tough. It's been hard. I've been trying to find some peace whenever possible, and some pleasure, which for me recently has been turning off the news and opening the windows. The bird song in Brooklyn is amazing. I'm calling from Brooklyn, and the traffic in New York City is low, and the birds are just all seem to be out and chirping and happy, and that's been really giving me pleasure. And just a little while ago, I watched the cast of Hamilton sing a little girl a song, which was pretty amazing. And these events have been really amazing. So I want to thank you guys. If you've been, I see a lot of familiar faces from past readings, including past readers. So thank you so much for coming back. If you're new here, welcome. Take a deep breath, settle your body in, because we have three fantastic authors joining us tonight. Rebecca Dinerstein is here. Hi, Becky. Megha Giddings is here. Hi, Megan. And Megha Majumdar is here as well. Hi, Megha. I'm gonna just explain how this works real quickly. We don't have a stage, but we do have a mic. So everyone right now, your mics are on mute, and I ask that you please keep them that way. We're gonna honor the authors when they have the microphone, and each author is gonna read to us for a little bit. And then at the end of the event, there will be some time for Q&A, so be ready for that. You'll be ready, you'll be able to use your microphone then if you want to, or you can just chat at us. The chat is public, so you can show your appreciation of the authors that way. So without further ado, get your keys clicking and your fingers tapping for our first reader of the evening, which is Megha Giddings. Yes, welcome, Megan. Megha Giddings has degrees from the University of Michigan. I'm sorry, I'm losing my thing here. Miami University and Indiana University. Megan is a fiction editor at The Offing, an amazing publication, and a features editor at another amazing publication, The Rumpus. And in 2018, Megan was a recipient of a Barbara Deming Memorial Fund grant for feminist fiction. Her stories are forthcoming or have been recently published in Black Warrior Review, Arts and Letters, Gulf Coast, and the Iowa Review. And her novel Lakewood is out now. Megan lives in the Midwest, where she's joining us from. Hello, Megan. Megan, where are you? You're on mute. I'm unmuting you.
Now am I unmuted?
There you are.
Ah,
Hey,
okay.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pinning you here so everyone can see you. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Bloomington, Indiana, where I'm currently an adjunct instructor.
Very, very cool. And you said it's spring there?
It's gorgeous here.
Awesome. And it's happy hour.
It is.
Yes. Raise those martinis. Awesome.
All right.
Very cool. Yes. Megan, you have the microphone. Welcome.
So this is my first book. It still feels really wild to say that. And it came out on March 24th from Amistad. And I have to give you just a brief, small amount of information before I read. So what you'll find out if you read the book is on the very first page, the main character, Lena, her grandmother dies. And she finds out very quickly that she's responsible for the family debt. Her mother has many chronic illnesses, and her grandmother also had a long bout with cancer before she died. And she finds out very quickly as a college student, and also a Black college student with no connections, that she can't find a job with health insurance or one that can really pay for everything very easily. So she gets invited to join a mysterious study, and she's now there auditioning for it. All right. Yeah, that's all you need to know. Chapter 5. The first session was with a blonde woman who introduced herself as Dr. Lisa. She was the type of tall, muscular woman who, despite looking close to 50, plenty of people probably still asked her if she played volleyball or basketball. They started the session by going into the small garden behind her office and walking together as the day slowly warmed, frost melting on the grass. How often do you read the news, Dr. Lisa asked. Not much. Between school and work and family, I always fall behind. Although I guess maybe that's a good thing right now. Still, how much do you think the news you read influences the ways you see the world? A small burst of cloud puffed out of Dr. Lisa's mouth with each word. Embarrassed, Lena's voice cracked as she said she didn't think she could truly answer the question. She looked down at the daffodils. They were so bright compared to anything inside the doctor's office. Out in the sunlight, the doctor's hair looked more white than blonde. Do you believe in a higher power? I want to. The wind gusted, pushed the daffodils around, trailed its fingers through the grass and tree branches. What are your views on how America treats women? Can you repeat the question? What, Dr. Lisa said very slowly, are your views on how America treats women? I don't think that's a fair question. Dr. Lisa stopped walking. For the first time, her eyes were directly on Lena's face, not on the clipboard she was carrying or on a bird's progress. Tell me why. It forces me to make an assessment about all women. I am 1,000% sure there are plenty of white women who think America is great to them, but America is only routinely good to women, especially Black women, when it wants something from them. How is that different from men? Some birds bickered on a tree branch, then flew off into the bright blue sky. I think men can be absolutely useless, and a lot of people will find a way to say something nice about them, especially white men. But a woman, she has to be something. If she's not, considered hot or the right amount of smart or good at like cooking, people don't see her. And if she's too much of something, then I think a lot of people hate her. Isn't that a little cynical? Demoralizing? Lena shrugged. The tip of her nose felt cold as if it would start running soon. Sometimes, but most of the time, because it's the way things are, I don't think about it consciously. I just deal with it. I think I understand what you're saying, Dr. Lisa said, her voice slow and thoughtful. She scribbled something. Lena brought her hands up to her mouth and blew on them, clapped a few times. I think you're ready. Let's go inside. Once Lena was settled into the large wing chair across from Dr. Lisa's desk, the next question came. How comfortable are you when people of other races attempt to talk to you about racism? Lena raised her eyebrows. That's a good enough answer. How much do you care about other people's opinions? Lena crossed her ankles. She explained that if it was her family or her close friends, she cared a lot, but she just didn't have the bandwidth to care too much about what other people think. I'm already tired a lot of the time. Lena coughed. The small fountain on Dr. Lisa's desk burbled water. Its motor rattled. I lost my train of thought. Next, it was on to hypotheticals. Let's say there was a car with its brakes out heading toward a crowd of people. If it hit the crowd, it would kill maybe 5 people. You have the option to divert it, only killing the driver. What would you do? She paused. I guess if I had to, I would kill the driver. A person is plotting an attack against other people at your school. You have the option to stop them, but the way you do it will result in their death. Can you do it? Lena paused. Why do you want to know if I could kill someone? I'm just getting to know you. Now, what if a person was standing in your living room at night, pointing a gun at you, or your mom? Dr. Lisa's teeth were so white, they looked freshly painted. What if a man was sexually assaulting you? How far can you go? Out the window was a patch of Queen Anne's lace. A bee buzzed over it. Didn't they hibernate? Lena had no idea if she could ask to take a break. Dr. Lisa leaned back in her seat and adjusted the blinds. Do you need me to repeat the question? Thanks. The light, it was making my eyes hurt. Lena's lying voice always came out an octave higher. Lena, it's important that you answer every question as honestly as you possibly can. I guess deep down, I think I could do a lot to make sure other people survived. But I also think everyone wants to think of themselves as a potential hero. And I think I'm avoiding answering the questions because the idea of being in a situation where I have to hurt someone else, it makes me feel mostly sick. Lena looked down at her hands. There was a patch of dry skin near her left thumb. Thank you. The doctor took a sip of water, another. Then she cleared her throat. Let's say you found out that aliens are real during these studies, but you've given your word and you signed a binding contract. What do you think could get you to break that promise? I guess, I don't know. Maybe if the aliens were going to kill us all, I would rather be alive in prison than dead by an alien's tentacles. Dr. Lisa underlined something. Lena rubbed her nose and pushed some of her hair back. Do you trust white people? Lena took a long sip of water before answering the question. And I'm going to stop there. Now I can't hear you, Brian.
There we go. I sometimes forget about the muting too. Megan, thank you so much. Everyone, yes, please
Thanks for having me.
show some chat love there for Megan Giddings. That was powerful, and what a place to stop. Oh my gosh. Way to make me want to just like go right out if I could today and pick up your book. Sadly, we can't do that, but we can order it. And we are partnered with Greenlight Bookstore, which is my local bookstore here in Brooklyn. So, and they will provide you with copies to download or ship to you. So please check out Megan's book. That's amazing. Megan, can you hold up the cover for us one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is also just really a powerful, striking image.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, did you have a lot of like a lot of back and forth with that in terms of like the design of it, or did you just let it go and let them?
We had like something very different, and then everybody was kind of like, it's nice, but it doesn't feel right. And then this was their second try, which blew us away.
Very cool. It's gorgeous. Thank you so much. Thank you again. Moving right along, our next reader for the evening is Rebecca Dinerstein Knight. Becky is the author of 2 novels, most recently Hex, but also The Sunlit Night, and a collection of poems, Le Fautin. Her screenplay adaptation of The Sunlit Night premiered as a feature film at the 2019 Sundance Film Festival. Becky has reviewed restaurants for The Village Voice and novels for the New York Times Book Review, and her essays have appeared in The New Yorker, The Paris Review, and The New York Times, among others. A graduate of Yale and the NYU MFA program, Rebecca Dinerstein Knight is the recipient of a Wallant Award for Jewish Literature, and she lives and writes in New Hampshire, where she's joining us right now. Please get your keys clacking and fingers tapping to welcome Rebecca Dinerstein Knight. Hi, Becky. I'm unmuting you. There you are.
Hi. Thank you guys for being here on your Tuesday night. I hope you've already had dinner. Katie, you're the best. Katie Freeman is the best. I could spend this whole reading just talking about how Katie Freeman is the best, and I hope you've already gotten a chance to check out her turtleneck. But I really appreciate your having us here tonight. And I was just saying, I hope you've already had your dinners, or you're about to have them, or you're feeling great about dinner. Either way, this is my new book, Hex. It just came out last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago. What is a week at these days? This is the book, and it is about 6 people who fall in love with each other, and they make a kind of hexagon of desire and envy and longing and devotion and confusion, and then in the middle of it there's a whole bunch of botany. So I love the Katie chat going on the side. Let's just keep that going. It's about poisonous plants and also how to remedy their poisons, and it's told by a character named Nell Barber, who was working on this stuff in a lab and has gotten expelled from that lab. So I will just read the first chapter, which is pretty short, and turn it over to Megha, who I'm really excited to hear. Okay. Sorry. I am a woman who wakes up hungry. Tom touched only coffee till noon. You do what you're capable of at some point. So Tom and I left each other. I wanted breakfast, he wanted liberty, and who could blame either of us? I live alone now in a large, rancid, blown-out loft in outer Red Hook, where I pad around the soft wood floors like a toddler. I've taken my pants off, my rings, earrings. It's quiet and bright. I haven't gotten any lamps. I can hardly move. I'm drunk, and I take a probiotic. My name is Nell Barber. I'm 5'5" and 130 pounds, which is not in any way remarkable. My daddy was a nice Jewish boy who married a nice Christian girl and raised me in Kansas and got on with it. Neither of them observed anything ever again. I was born observant. They gave me the original, fearful, organized minds of their childhoods, and no religion of my own to honor. I suppose I turned from the celestial to the dirt. I study plants, and I live in order. Just because Rachel Simons made sustained contact with thallium and absorbed its toxins through her potassium uptake channels and died, the university expelled all 6 members of our lab. They couldn't tolerate another ounce of our hazard. The disciplinary committee stood in choral formation and issued what sounded like whale tones run through a vocoder. Be gone, they groaned. Our experiment in toxicology had taken the life of a valued graduate student and would no longer be institutionally condoned. I wore a hazmat suit to the hearing to promise future caution. The chairman found this disrespectful, and I could hardly see his apoplectic face through the scratched plastic front of my secondhand helmet. Columbia couldn't accuse us. Rachel had oxidized the thallium of her own volition, at her own risk, and to her own demise. But it could close down the environment in which she'd endangered herself and rescind our school-wide welcome. We had broken the contract of care and common responsibility that characterized the Columbia student. If we couldn't study safely, we couldn't study. It made good sense, but it deleted me. The finalized verdict came via a specially assembled summer committee via priority mail to Tom's address, which I'd just kissed goodbye without any tongue. August is supposed to be a lazy month, but it pummeled my partnership and my PhD. The biggest loss is you, my chime, my floorboard. You are my night milk. You are my unison. You believe in the periodic table. Your book sold 8,000 copies in its first week. Columbia will separate you from the Simons case and nurture your celebrity. For 5 years, I have been your smaller self, your near peer, your sane challenger, your favorite. For 5 years, I've trailed you as you approached success. Then Rachel reached for the rat poison and whole thing reached its readers, and my room lost its pillars in one coordinated catastrophe and neatly fell down. You and Tom have both conclusively shaken me. Look, Joan, I'm shaking. Tom and I lived in a rectangle of jewels, his mother's. A small palace they called an apartment on the Upper East Side, a good all-weather walk across Central Park to the university. Each morning I'd emerge from that snow globe and enter the open air feeling forward-moving and weightless. Each morning I'd be a beetle creeping over the park's grass blades without bending them. So light was I. Now, when I step onto Van Brunt, my entire body weight rests on the sidewalk, but only in exactly my weight. Not lifted, not burdened. I've returned to my skeleton's original fact. If you asked whether I like it, I think I'd tell you I do. When you climb out of something you're very deep inside, the daylight is first a blank, and then it reveals itself to be life as you knew it before you ever climbed into that thing. Everything has come around. Against the huge solitude of my schoolwork came the romance of Tom. Against the romance of Tom came our utter lack of sex. Against our non-sexual partnership came our easy, childlike living together. Against our shared life, now, again, huge and unschooled solitude. How undercutting, how generous of the world, to provide each thing with its inverse, to test each version of life we choose with a vision of its opposite. How perverse and unpeaceful. I want more than anything to love the choice I make, love it with abandon, proudly building a temple upon it. But how can you do it? How can you really give yourself up and praise anything when the world is too balanced to allow for a lopsided devotion, when each thing is always reckoning with its anti-self? Perhaps they're all the same, your various choices, and committing to one is the same as committing to any. Your only job is to build a temple. In memoriam to the temple torn down, to my years of studiously laid bricks kicked over, to a classmate and all her skin, I close the old books and open this one. These savage castor beans and monkshood seeds are no longer the lab's property. Rachel's experiment is now my own. I can destroy it, or it can destroy me as I please. I please. As with the old work, the new work is for you, Joan. What isn't for you? More life collected, documented. You'd like that. Wouldn't you like that? Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, please get those fingers going and show Becky some love. That was awesome. It was really cool. I got a question for you. Since you're up in New Hampshire,
Yeah.
do you garden? Is like the botanic kind of influence? Like, is that something that's like from a personal passion, or was it totally something you had to research and think about for the character?
It was something I had to research, and that is only a part of my life now that I live in New Hampshire, but I wasn't yet living in New Hampshire when I wrote this book, and I wasn't yet gardening at all. So it was really fun to learn about it and then move into an environment where I could practice it. But it really started as an aesthetic project that became a gardening project that became a garden, if that makes any sense.
That's beautiful. I love that. What a chain. That's really cool. You guys sharing a link now to support our authors to get Becky's book, Hex, via Greenlight Bookstore. And that's a good question. I'll take Sejal just asked, is there a story about the beautiful cover? Yeah, you want to show your cover too? We got some beautiful covers in this.
First of all, thank you guys. You're all so lovely in the chat, and I've not. This is the first event I've done where everyone is so lovely in the chat. So thank you for such a sweet environment. This cover is beautiful, and I had nothing to do with it. I did. A cover designer named Jason Ramirez at Penguin Random House came up with this and just dazzled us. I will say in the early draft, it was a little bit less recognizably a skull. I actually didn't even see the skull at first. And then Jason said, what do you mean you don't see the skull? The whole point is the skull. So he made it a little scullier. And now I think it does what it wants to do. But it's totally fly. And I'm very, very thankful to him for it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. All right. We will return in at the end to some more questions. So if you've got them, store them away. But we will keep the night rolling with our final reader, Megha Majumdar. Megha was born and raised in Kolkata, India. She moved to the United States to attend college at Harvard University, where she was a Traub Scholar, followed by graduate school in social anthropology at Johns Hopkins University. She works as an associate editor at Catapult, and she lives in New York City. Catapult, another amazing venue. Love Catapult. And she's going to be reading from her debut novel, which is called A Burning, and is out soon. Hi, Megha.
Hi, Brian. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Becky and Megan are too modest to shout about this, but I will share that they've written books which have received raves from places like NPR and the Boston Globe. I've already read and loved Hex, and I can't wait to read Lakewood. So definitely get their books. And I trust that everybody who's here knows that Brian is a writer and editor in his own right. Read his anthology, When I First Held You, and take his class at Catapult. And also shout out to Greenlight Bookstore. A couple weeks ago, when it became really clear that this would continue, I bought a Greenlight gift card, and I'm so looking forward to the day when we're able to go into bookstores and browse again. But for now, they're also shipping, so buy a book if you can. A Burning is my debut novel. It's about people chasing big dreams within a society with huge class and power disparities, a society which does not serve them. It follows three characters who want different things: to rise to the middle class, to take acting classes and to gain some amount of political power, even if that means carving out a role within a right-wing political party. The section that I'll read today, this section is about a school teacher, a physical education teacher who on his way home one day happens upon a political rally. A man holding a dish of red paste dips his thumb in the paste and marks PT Sir's forehead, drawing a red smear from brow to hairline. A child being blessed by an elder. Thus marked, party flag in hand, PT Sir steps forward to hear better. There's a movie star on the stage. I'm going to skip that part. When the star leaves the stage, her place at the microphone is occupied by the second in command of the political party. Bimala Pal, no more than 5'2", arrives in a plain white sari, her steel wristwatch flashing in the sun. The crowd quiets for her. PT Sir holds the flag above his head for shade, then tries his small leather bag, which works better. In the microphone, Bimalapal cries, where the current government is not able to feed our people, Jana Kalyan Party, your idle government's hardworking opposition has provided rice to 14 districts for 3 rupees per kilo. We are inviting plastics and cars, factories which will bring at least 15,000 jobs. While PT Sir watches, a man wearing a white undershirt pulls himself up or is pushed up by the crowd onto the hood of a jeep far ahead. PT Sir had not noticed the jeep until now, but there it is, a vehicle in the middle of the field, still a distance from the stage. The man stands on the hood of the car, surveying the raised arms, the open mouths, the stained teeth. Then he climbs onto the roof of the car now rocking from the crowd, shoving and slamming, their fury and laughter landing on the polished body of the vehicle. 15,000 jobs, they chant, 15,000 jobs. Whether they are excited or merely following instructions from party coordinators is hard to tell. A few TV cameras will pick this up, no doubt. We know that you are sacrificing every day, Bimalapal calls, shouting into the microphone. And for what? Don't you deserve more opportunities? This party is standing with you to gain those jobs. Every rupee of profit that you are owed, every day of school for your children. Bimalapal pumps a fist in the air and PT Sir watches electricity coursing through him despite himself. Here in the flesh are the people of the hinterland about whom he has only seen features on TV. He knows a few things about them. Not only is there no work in their village, there is not even a paved road. Not only is the factory shut down, remember that this nation belongs to you, not to the rich few in their high-rises or the company bosses in their big cars, but you, Bimalapal wraps up. Vande Mataram, she says, praise to the motherland. The man at the top of the car repeats the phrase. PT Sir might have thought that this man, along with hundreds, had been trucked here from a village, his empty belly lured by a free box of rice and chicken, his fervor purchased for one afternoon. He might have thought that for these unemployed men, the market is not. But the man's cries make the hairs on PT Sir's arms stand up. And what is false about that? The man on the car lifts his shirt and reveals, tucked in the waistband of his trousers, wrapped in a length of cloth, a dagger. The man holds the handle and lifts it high in the air where the blade catches the sun. Below him, surrounding the car, a man dances, then another and another, a graceless dance of feeling. The dagger stays up in the air, itself a sun above the field, and PT Sir looks at it, frozen in alarm and excitement. How spirited this man is, with his climb atop a jeep like a movie hero, with his dagger and his dancing. How different from all the school teacher knows, how free. Thank you.
Thank you, Megha. Thank you so much. Everyone show Megha some love. That was amazing. That was super cool. I want to share this link for you guys too. Megha's novel is not out just yet, but it will be really soon and has also been generating a whole lot of buzz. So you guys should check it out. Let's see that cover one more time.
This is out in June.
Very cool. That's so exciting. I love the like layers to the cover as well. That sense of kind of like depth. Yeah, Jesse Chaseby has a great question. Can you tell us a little bit about that cover? About how it came about?
It was incredibly smooth, all thanks to Tyler Comrie, who designed the cover. This is actually the first cover that they showed me, and I loved it. And I don't know if you can see, but it has a which I think is so lovely, and the train is relevant to the plot.
That's so cool. I love when there's like secret little little elements to the cover that you understand more as you read the book and see things in. That's really awesome. You guys in the audience, you can use the raise a hand function if you want to under chat, or you can just chat your question. But if you want to if you want the microphone, that's cool. I'm going to start because I have a question that I always like to hear from the authors, which is just what's giving you strength right now? What's nourishing you in this strange and challenging time that we're in? Megan, do you want to start? Besides your martini, what's nourishing you these days?
I guess, God, it's really hard to feel like anything's nourishing me at the moment. I guess some of this gardening, my peas are coming up and my peonies are starting to just burst out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, you're good.
There for a second. And I guess my cats, sure, they're comforting. They're great.
Nice. It's so nice you have a outdoor space. We have a pocket-sized backyard here in Brooklyn, and I think it's seeing more action in the past 5 weeks than it has in the past 5 years. We're out there every day.
Yeah, it's my first outdoor space home, so I'm so glad I have it right now.
That's awesome. Very, very necessary to get outside. Becky, what about you?
Hi. It's been sort of incredible to connect with other writers and readers right now in a way that I couldn't have expected. But the entire industry has rallied around books coming out right now, books coming out throughout the rest of the year, totally reorganizing itself to hold these events, yourself at the forefront of it. You got out in front with this series right away. It was so appreciated. It set an example. Megha and I are in the middle of a conversation on a Google document, like about Zoom events, and then we got scheduled to do this Zoom event together while having that. It's just like the whole thing is kind of curving in on itself in interesting ways, and it's been really comforting to feel that community connection. And I guess speaking of cats, there is like a tiny little cat in a cat bed right there.
Oh
He's
my
doing okay.
God.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. So cool. Yeah, no, I agree. It's been really awesome to see, right, in all the literary love that's happening. You know, authors have put so much work into their books and leading to this moment, and this is just such a thing that's out of everybody's hands. So you know, we have to support one another, support authors, and support like independent bookstores, especially, which I think are, you know, everyone's going to be, all of them are struggling. So yeah, thank you, Megha. What about you? What's nourishing you right now? What's giving you strength?
I've been cooking a lot. I've been having weekly conversations with my friend Laura, who's right here. And those have been so nourishing and so energizing. I have a stack right next to me of books that I've loved recently, and I had them for courage during my first Zoom reading, but I can show you a couple of them. I really loved Children of the Land, Marcelo Castillo's memoir, which is stunning. I found it so immersive and frightening and just deeply felt and unforgettable. It's about being, you know, vulnerable to ICE's attentions and having a parent deported. It's really stunning. And then another book I have is this collection of stories, Sabrina and Karina, which I really loved. I think I saw the paperback recently, so I think it's now out in paperback. So I love that one, and I'll just talk about one more so it's not to take up all the time, but this book, which I think came out today, it's called Nerve. It's by Eva Holland, and it's a memoir which also explores fear and overcoming fear, and I found that really apt for right now.
Yeah, totally. Very timely. Very timely. All right, since you shared some books, I've got two here that I wanted to give a shout out to, especially because Sejal's in the audience. I just finished This Is One Way to Dance by Sejal Shah, who will be reading at the Antibody in, I don't know, a month or so time. But this is coming out very soon, I believe, and it's beautiful. Talk about a beautiful cover, and it's kind of I'm going to say this because I said this to Sejal already, and she liked it. It was like a collage, like a memoir in the form of collage. It's really, really beautiful. And then I've been wanting to go back and reread books because I've been feeling like kind of the comfort of like an old favorite. So I'm dipping back into Baldwin's Giovanni's Room right now, which is really moving and lovely, and also making me feel like I'm visiting Paris at a time when it would be, I wish I was able to be in Paris, but you know, it's really great. Oh, and cool, Harriet's reading Giovanni's Room too. Kismet, awesome. I see a couple questions here that I want to just circle back to. The first one actually is just Becky, specific to you. Ian McKellen has a question, which is just to ask that your first two books were focused above the Arctic Circle. So was this stepping out of your comfort zone to work on Hex? Did it feel like you were stepping out of your comfort zone to work on Hex, or was it more of like a relief to be in a new space?
Hi, Ian. Thank you. Thank you for all the literary citizenship that you do throughout the industry, truly, for so many years. Thank you. Good question. Nice question. Yeah, it is a total relief to not be writing about Norway anymore. I became like that weird not Norwegian girl who writes about Norway for a while, which never made any sense. So it is nice to have a new domain. That being said, it was totally outside my comfort zone because I am not a botanist. So it was both. But the most fun thing about this book was the voice, which just sort of like threw itself at me. So it was really a pleasure to just let a totally different voice that wasn't autobiographical and wasn't informed by travel or place, but really only by like the essence of its own attitude, take charge. That was really fun.
That's really cool. I'm so excited to read this. A question for all of you guys from Sejal, which is, are you able to write right now? Megha, maybe let's start with you. I know like in the lead up a lot of times to like when a book's about to come out, there's that whole push to kind of, I don't know, place essays or stories or whatever. Are you working on things right now? Are you writing things, or are you busy with other work?
I've written a couple things. I think I want to make sure that I'm writing things where I have something to say. I don't want to write thin things. And I have been working on a new book very, very, very slowly, and it's in very, very early stages. But I think, you know, writing has been both a relief when you're able to do it. There have been so many days where I'm just not able to, and I think being forgiving and being compassionate with yourself is really key right now.
Got it. You guys, can you hear me? Awesome. All right. Just a reminder to everyone in the audience to keep your mics on mute. But how about you? How about the rest of you guys? Megan, have you been able to write?
Yeah, I mean, I never had a discipline where I could write every day. So it wasn't like a big deal to me when I stopped writing at the start of this. But most of the time, to keep myself writing, I write down my dreams, or I write images, or I'll write things based on the tarot, which makes me sound like every writer right now, because I feel like all of a sudden we all got into the tarot cards at the same time. But I do that just so that I can write everything down and not be subconscious about it. I also did the thing that my agent told me to do, which is way back when my book went out for sale a million years ago, I started a new book, and I've been working on that book, and it's been like a relief to work on it because it's an adventure book, and having something that's like out in the world and filled with like places different than here, it's made me feel a lot better. This is actually a better question to the first question I got asked about solace, because it's been a real, like, not have to think about this world at all nice thing whenever I do feel like writing this other book.
That's cool. Kind of like another place to go into, another set of problems to think about.
Yeah, and it's also about witches, so it's completely not this world at all. It's not here.
How interesting. Yeah. What about you, Becky? Are you working on? Are you writing? Are you working, whether it's a new big project or just on smaller pieces?
I've been working on smaller pieces around this book's release, and some nice, the Q&As that pop up around pub, and it's sort of a fair amount of smaller assignments that I'm really extra happy to have the opportunity to do right now in the absence of live events. So that's been my focus, but I'm excited to get back to a new project as well.
Yeah, and so I was just actually talking with an author, and she was saying that she was having trouble letting go of the first project, that she just kind of wanted to continue essentially kind of spending time with those characters. Is that a challenge when you're starting a new project after completing something else? Are you excited to get back into a new project, or are you more, is it harder to kind of find your way in after you've already been so immersed in another world, another set of characters?
For me,
anyone can take it. Becky, you go, and then we'll roll through.
It's a nice question. I don't really know. It's different each time. I loved getting into new characters when I started Hex because I'd been in Sunland Nightland for so long. But it depends, and I think to a certain extent our old projects are never really out of the picture either. So getting into new characters while having some sense of where you're coming from is the tipping point. And I'll see. I don't know how it's gonna feel. Yeah. What about you guys?
Megan, what do you think? Have you had trouble with, or is it like fun and exciting to kind of get back into a new project, or is it like take you a while to kind of shake off the world and the characters of the old one?
I can go. I think it's really fun. I mean, I tend to write from a place of feeling alarm and anger, and observing certain kinds of injustice. So being in that place where you feel really powerfully moved and you feel that you have something to say about a certain kind of injustice, feels very fertile. I don't know if it's always fun. Sometimes it's hard. But I think knowing that you have the capacity to think deeply about a new thing is always very encouraging.
Megan, you got anything to add on that?
I felt really relieved to leave Lakewood. And some of it is that the book was based upon, not directly, but emotionally, where my husband was misdiagnosed with an illness. And just to get his diagnosis and to get him tests, we had to empty out our savings. And it was based in part on like my anger about the American healthcare system. I was really upset. And we also had to have a lot of conversations because there were we were told that he could be really sick based on what he was initially diagnosed with. And we really didn't know how to handle it. We were 29 and it was just a mess. And then on top of that, Lakewood is a lot about racism, and it's also about social inequity. And it's also kind of a gross, weird book. And so it was weird because I got a lot of pleasure out of being able to write a novel, but I was also deeply angry and upset through a lot of the writing of the book. And just going back to it, these are things I'm really passionate about. And I'm really mad still about medical inequity in this country. And it makes kind of Lakewood even more hard for me because now what was kind of subtext in my book is text. We're all thinking about, well, what the fuck are we going to do if someone we love gets COVID-19? How are we going to afford to take care of them? How can we keep taking care of ourselves? And it's so inhumane that we're in this situation at all to have to like respond in that like thought set. And so like having this new book that is more about family, and I mean, it's still about race and it's still about gender and it's still about inequity. Like these things can't be untied from my writing process, but it's a relief to not being writing a book that's not fueled by like rage and like the fear I had about all of these things. So yeah, it's a much better experience, but I didn't expect that when I published Lakewood that it would kind of bring all those feelings I had when I was writing and revising it just back up to the surface. And I would feel all of this and have to think about it so deeply in the middle of something very extraordinarily awful.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a lot. And it's so interesting. The idea of writing out of anger makes me think of this. The author Lisa Albert once said to me how sorrow and grief can be such a powerless kind of feeling emotion, like emotionally, but anger is something you can do something with, right? Like, and so you can write with your anger, you can protest with your anger. And so that's sounds so cathartic and intense, but also right, like kind of recycling back into those things every time you re-engage with that material.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for writing it. I'm so excited to read it. Um, one last question, and I see Subhash has asked, this question is specifically for Megha, but I think it's relates to everyone. I sometimes get this question a lot in classes, which is essentially like, how do you write from a place that feels and like that's coming from your experience in some way, or is set in a place, in Megha, in your case, the novel set in India, and yet have a kind of universal appeal to it. And I'm often asked that kind of question by emerging and aspiring authors, you know, how can I make my piece have that universal appeal? And I'm curious, what do you say when people ask you about that? I'm not going to lead with my own answer, but what do you say when students or authors ask you, like, well, how do you get that universal appeal, or does it have that universal appeal? Is that even a value that we should be asking ourselves as authors? What do you guys think? Megha, do you want to try?
Sure. I mean, I think one answer is, the deeper you go into your specific situation, the more attentive you are to the specific textures that move you, that are known to you, I think the more able you are to create something that resonates with others in very different circumstances. I think for me, I wrote the book certainly about the rise of the right wing in India, and it so happened that, you know, it coincided with the rise of the right elsewhere in Europe, in Brazil, certainly here in the US. I wanted to ask a big question about, you know, when you are caught in a situation of such vast injustice and where you are caught within institutions and systems which do not serve you, how do you chase your dreams? What does it mean to be an individual who still has big dreams and big ambitions and wants to pursue them? So I think that kind of question, rooted in a very specific situation, can have resonance with a lot of people elsewhere.
I totally agree. Megan, Becky, did you have anything you'd like to add on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when you think about how many, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're on.
No? Yeah. When you think about how many books you've read that have anything to do with your own circumstance, it's very few. When you think about your favorite books, if you were to think sort of offhand of your 3 favorite books, I doubt that any of them would resemble your own life to any great extent, or maybe one would, but it's never the primary criteria by which we look for a favorite book. So when you try to imagine what is the thing that drives our connection to a piece of writing, it has to be something closer to the emotional core of it. And that emotional center of a piece of art is so fluid that it can really take any shape and any space and travel wherever it needs to get. So I mean, it's one of the great luxuries of literature that via this emotional channel, you're able to inhabit totally foreign environments. So there's a lot of, the universal appeal is always accessible, I think, if you're in touch with something that's emotionally active.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that also. Megan, what do you got? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I respond to this question really differently depending on who asks me. If it's a young writer of color who asks me this question, I'm a little more frank to them that they're going to need like really strong advocates for their work, because there is kind of like this set idea where it's less about the universality or how to connect with a story, but there's a lot of people in this industry who have they have an idea that there's a set type of Black story or a set type of Indigenous writer story, especially. And you do need a big advocate sometimes to get your work sold or to get paid attention to, because a lot of people still want to see the same thing. I've overcome this situation, drugs, whatever people like, and then I've become closer to being acceptably white. And that's kind of like the arc of that story. It's a coming of age, and you get money or you get some way just a little less other. And it's the story a lot of people want or they want to hear. If I'm talking generally, though, I think what most readers connect to, it's, I think a lot of people want to be transported. They either want a voice or they want to be somewhere else. They want to feel just whisked away a little bit. And I think the story, like the specifics of universality, they don't really matter if you tell something that makes someone deeply excited to keep turning the page and just be somewhere else for a while. But I do differ in how I talk about it, just because sometimes that question is so loaded with like deep insecurities about the business we are all in.
Yeah, I mean, what you were just saying brings to mind like Kiese Leman quote from an essay he wrote about Outcast, about like finding your voice is in part about thinking of who your audience is, right? And that idea of a universal audience is one that's often tied up with a white gaze and
yeah. I don't think Lakewood would have been the way it is if I'd not come out on Amistad. Like, there were some people with some great ideas for it, but Amistad is primarily a Black press, and my editor was Black, and everybody who mostly touched the book was Black. So there were times much more after the initial phase of working with my agent or some of my readers who just aren't Black, who they would say very different things about how the book should address race or who I should be talking to in the book. And it was kind of an incredible first experience as a debut novelist to have a writer who's like this, you can center who you want to center in your book, and have someone explicitly say that when I was doing my final revisions. I'll always be grateful for that experience.
That's very cool. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Megha. Thank you, Becky. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you guys for being here, and taking us all into your worlds for just a little bit. It's been really, really wonderful. We will be here. The Antibody is going to be running as long as quarantine does. Which I'm counting by what Cuomo says. And so we're going to be back next week. I'm going to put this up here so you can see. Mary Kim Arnold is going to be here. She's got a new book of verse called The Fish and the Dove. Marie Helene Bertino will be here reading from her new novel, or forthcoming novel, Parakeet. And C-Pam Zhang will be here reading from her very highly acclaimed new novel, How Much of These Hills is Gold. I have events scheduled till the end of May, and so if you want to see who's coming up next, there's a full schedule there. And then finally, I'm putting out here all of our authors' handles on Twitter. So if you are on Twitter, find them, keep the conversation going, give them some shout outs, give them some love, get their books. A big thank you again, Megha, Megan, and Becky. Big thank you to everyone in the audience who came, and to Greenlight Bookstore, and to the Literary Hub. This will be archived on the Literary Hub tomorrow on their virtual book channel. So check it out, share it. Until next week, you guys, stay vigilant and safe and healthy and optimistic, and keep reading books. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you so
night.
much, Brian.
Of course.
Brian.
Thanks. It's wonderful to see you guys.
You too.
Take care. Have a good night.
Bye, Brian.
Good
Thank you so
night.
much.
Thank you.